Welcome back to the Jam Podcast. We have a special guest, Sierra Cree. She goes to school with us. On her Instagram bio, she describes herself as a plant mom and a recently elected senior class representative. Glad to have you with us, Sierra.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm super excited to do this. I've never done a podcast before, but I'm excited to talk with you guys and whatever questions you have.
Yeah, like anything, you're making history right now, so start getting ready to sign autographs. Not be able to go to the store without the paparazzi following. So, uh, I guess first question probably is like how since this quarantine, how's it been for you?
Um, Life has been honestly, kind of normal for me. I do have a job. I work at Starbucks. And it's, you know, I guess, wearing masks isn't my favorite thing, but since I've been able to work, I haven't been quarantining as much.
Hmm.
I have been able to go out, and so life has been relatively normal, compared to other people. Um, so
Yeah,
it hasn't been a huge change.
at your job, do they require to engage in all the practices of personal protection?
We do. We have the plexiglass up basically like around the entire counter, and then we do have to wear a mask. We don't have to wear gloves, which surprises me, but we do have to wear a mask.
Do you guys do like the covered straws there?
What do you mean covered?
Like like how you have the straws like with a drink, and then it's just like the ones that are just open, like they put in the drink, or is it covered?
Oh, we don't do anything with their straws, they do their
Oh yeah.
straws, so
Right. Well, yeah. I Matthew, how's quarantine been for you?
Um, Pretty chill, probably. I haven't gone out like at all besides like walking my dog and like occasionally to get like order a takeout and a couple things like that, but overall not that bad. Probably because I like to stay inside for the most part anyways when I'm not quarantining, so I don't
It's
know.
true. It's
Yeah,
yeah.
it's
Besides not seeing going to school and stuff, there hasn't been that much of a difference.
something kind of relaxing
Yeah.
about it. I like going outside and seeing nobody out.
Hmm.
And just like walking my dog and listening to the sounds of the wind, the trees, and all that.
Like a poem or something. Oh my god. Yeah, I've enjoyed the schedule of quarantine with school and stuff where wake up late, do school some part of the day, and stay up super late.
Exactly. Get up, and then I just get it right out of the way. And I've been able to get so much more sleep as a result of all this.
Mhm.
Um, and normally I don't sleep that much. I think normally during the school year I get around an average of 6 hours a day. But with this, I can easily
No,
get
that
eight,
no,
10.
no, you do not. You do not get around 6 hours during the normal school year.
6 hours on a good day. On a good day, yeah.
Yeah, that's the one thing I'm kind of glad about now is that I guess for seniors,
Yeah.
We are seniors.
It's strange
hey,
to think about.
Weird.
I was thinking it was like the
Oh.
last time we'll graduate. We'll never graduate in just June. Like we'll never be in school again in June.
We've been
Maybe
at
You
the
know,
summer
that's
seniors.
not
for just so
that's
long.
not something I can deal with. Like, I'm not sad that we won't be in school in June.
Yeah, it's true. I'm not, where you see all the other schools get out a week before, and you're just still stuck there studying for a certain biology final or
Oh yeah, we still have to take the SAT. Ah, that's gonna be an
oh
interesting experience.
god
Yeah.
no. Did you
Next
Sarah,
year
did you
is definitely what?
no, go ahead.
So, next year is definitely going to be interesting because we have all these things that we couldn't do this year. So we've got the SATs, which they hope they're going to get in the fall, and then we have senior project, which is in the spring.
Boo.
So we've got a lot on our plate next week, or next year. It's going to be interesting, but I think a lot of the colleges and everybody's gonna have a little bit of grace because of,
Yeah,
COVID. So I
yeah.
Yeah,
wouldn't worry about it, but
I've gotten a
Yeah, I
lot
hear
of
like
like
most of
promotional material from a bunch of different universities talking about how, hey, it's okay if you don't do all these, SAT subject tests and all of that. We understand. We review students holistically. So we'll see how true that actually is.
Right.
holistically, my favorite word. But Sierra, did you take any AP classes this year?
I did not take any AP classes, but I did take let's see, one one dual credit class.
So did you have to deal with like the online like standardized test kind of with that?
My dual credit class was already online, so it wasn't a change for me,
Oh, that's good.
but yeah, and it was weird. The online class I took didn't really have any tests, so I didn't really have to deal with it anyways.
That's
So
good. At least didn't have to endure the. Although I think the AP exam this year was all right. It was just
Especially
a,
how
it just
fast they had to get it out.
mhm. It's just interesting like how everything just is changing like right before our eyes. Like maybe it's been the standardized way of, oh, you take your SAT this time, okay, you take your uh your PSATs this time or whatnot, and maybe in the future, I don't know, our kids in the future might not have to, or I don't know. I think there's gonna be a very huge societal shift we'll see in the near future because of this. But
What do
I
you think
definitely
about
agree with
the
you.
what do you think about the lawsuit against the College Board for $500
I
million
don't think it'll.
dollars?
I don't think that does anything though, because they're already a couple $1 billion nonprofit.
Uh, who's it by? It was
True.
by Fair Test, the National Center for Fair and Open Testing, for breach of contract, gross negligence, misrepresentation, unjust enrichment, and violations of the Americans with Disabilities Act.
How did they get the ADA law there?
I don't know.
What was it?
Plaintiffs will seek. Let me see. The College Board rushed untested AP computerized exams into the marketplace in order to preserve the testing company's largest revenue-generating program after schools shut down this spring, even though they were warned about many potential access, technology, and security problems. Even if only 1% of test takers could not transmit their answers because the College Board's technology was not ready for prime time, at least 20,000 students were affected.
Wow.
I see all these things on social media, people being like, "Oh my god, the AP exam sent me something where I was caught cheating." I don't get that because it's just, for most of them it was just writing, but I guess maybe for calculus or something. But
Yeah.
you know
I
what? I'm gonna be done.
definitely I definitely think that once people have to go through this online testing and have to do all these things, that I think that the college board schools, I think they're going to change a little bit after this. I think that they're going to be more prepared for online schooling. I think some schools might even like switch to online schooling. I think there's just a
Hmm.
lot of the stuff that they're doing now, I think is going to stick around even once COVID passes. I think because a lot of the store that I work at, they're keeping the plexiglass up. They're keeping the extra cleaning and stuff like that. So I think a lot of the stuff that they're doing right now is going to stay.
For sure, yeah. I think schools are going to see a big shift too. I specifically like next year, if, there's even a possibility we might go back to school right away or not. I wonder if they might require. I was reading some schools already looking at where you might not be able to sit with your friends at lunch just due to
Wow.
social distancing. Certain like how bigger schools do it where they have an A and a B lunch kind of. They might
Mm-hmm.
start doing that with smaller schools and whatnot. But
It'd be
I
interesting to
think.
see how charter does that because we have so few students
Mhm.
Yeah.
and how they would fit that into a schedule. They'd have to completely like revamp their schedule.
I also, yeah, I could see them cutting lunch in half. All right, guys, we only got 15 minutes.
I mean,
Ugh.
most schools are such a potent, transmission factor. So I feel
Yeah,
like
it's
it's
to get kids
important to
from
address that.
also, get kids who live with their grandparents or not, and it affects older people or kids who have deficiencies. So
And then a lot of the
it's kind of
times,
like
you're asymptomatic, you're not showing any symptoms, but you still have it and you can still spread it. Um,
I just got an alert on my phone that reached the 100,000 mark on deaths from COVID in the U.S.
Wow.
So I mean, it's out there, all right. But it's time, as Bob Dylan would say, times are changing.
It's gonna be an
But
interesting. It's gonna be a good interview question in the future to ask what your company's response was to the COVID-19
I can just
pandemic.
imagine. I can imagine test graders in the future just looking at, oh, how COVID affected me, and this is why I should get into your college. Or chase away
Yeah.
the way to do it. But so kind of go back to senior projects. Do you have any ideas of what yours is going to be soon?
My senior project is it is on the use of an automated ambulatory device for tracking and predicting epileptic events.
Wow, that's
Yeah.
better than mine.
It's something that's actually really interested me, and it's relates to me on a personal level. And so I want to go into studying epilepsy somehow in the medical field for my career. So that's part of it. But yeah,
So
and
so
sorry.
your senior project is kind of creating something that acts like a proactive measure to it.
The usage of a device like this, it's kind of like an EEG, an
Oh,
electroencephalogram that tracks the brain waves, but you can wear it around. It's like a watch, and most of the time, EEGs are really hard to get. They're quite expensive, and it takes a lot on the patient. You have to kind of fast your sleep the day before. It's really hard on a patient, and so with these devices, it's cheaper. You don't have to be in the hospital. You don't have to do any of the fast sleeping or anything like that. Um, it would be a lot more affordable, a lot more convenient for patients that have a lot of epileptic events. So I think it's a
has
really
there
interesting idea.
has this you talk about the wearable kind of technology with it. Has it already been implemented into different things, or is it still kind of beta?
There is a watch. I can't remember the name of the company, but it has already been approved by the FDA. So it's being used. There is a device that is used, but it's on a very, very small scale. Most hospitals don't implement it. They usually just have regular EEG. Um, And so my senior project is about the fact that we should really start implementing this device because it helps so much. It's really accurate in reading the epileptic events. Um, but I think we should get more hospitals on board with it.
That's definitely something. Wearable technology that affects health is something that
Yeah,
things become a little more mainstream, which is good, rather than just walking around with some giant clunky device that predicts something for you, but making it more
right.
fashionable in some sense,
hmm
a little more practical also. Yeah,
Yeah, there's watches that monitor your blood sugars for those who have diabetes. So why can't we have something that, maybe looks like an Apple Watch, but it's actually has a really important purpose for those that have epilepsy.
yeah, I think that's good. I think that's it's getting there.
How do you think like the education industry, like colleges and universities, will adapt to all of these new additions in tech, all these wearable devices and things like that? Because I feel like with Apple Watches and all these different things, it's becoming easier and easier to cheat in a college exam or cheat in this. And I feel like schools need to
Mm.
address these matters, whether it's embracing them or just outright banning them.
Or
Well,
bigger red
our
flags.
school doesn't allow you to wear the watches like Apple Watches unless it is for, a medical purpose. And I think most schools should do that. The schools that have, allow phones in class, things like that. Obviously there's going to be a person that says, I don't care about the rules. I'm going to bring my phone in anyways. But there's always going to be those people. There's always going to be those rule breakers. But in my opinion, I don't think colleges or high schools or even middle schools should allow phones in class or any watches, anything like that. It will definitely reduce the number of people that are cheating. There's always going to be people that are cheating. You can't eliminate it 100%.
When you
But
say phones,
yeah.
when you say phones in class, you just mean not like out on the open, but they can still like be in your backpack or
Oh
pocket.
yeah, in a backpack
Oh
is fine, as long as a student can't use their device to cheat on a test or homework or anything like that. Um, yeah, if you
yeah.
just have it, in your even if you're have good self-control, you can have it in your pocket even. I don't have a
hmm
problem with that. But
No, yeah. But you get your bad egg in the group, and then it kind of
Yeah.
grows.
right, right. It's difficult because there's so much technology right now. I mean, the Apple Watches, there's so many things you can do, and it's very, very low key. So it's becoming easier and easier to cheat.
Coming with your Google Glass.
Yes. Yeah. The
Remember
things
when I
that they're
thought that
coming
was
up with.
yeah, I know there's some. I think it's also interesting just how fashion in general is becoming more connected with technology, wearable technology. Like shoes can have electronic function now, where they lace on
Yeah.
itself now.
Wow. I think there's uses. There's always pros and cons to everything, and there's pros and
hmm
cons to having technology in every object. Um, so there are things that I believe really just don't need technology, but
No, no, yeah.
yeah.
You see all these products with the word "smart" in front of it, and it just
Smoke
doesn't.
Yeah.
juicos connect to your phone.
Yeah, what's the point?
Well,
Your
yeah.
refrigerator doesn't need to text people. Like, I'm sorry.
Right, you see those Samsung refrigerators where they have the
Yeah.
giant tablet on the front. It's
Yeah.
Those actually kind of seem
cool, but
low-key
it's not
pretty cool. Being
cool,
able to
but it's not
track like
necessary.
what goes in and out of your fridge, and then being able to make recipes and all of that, and just be able to know
But
really
you can just do that
quickly
via
and
your
easily.
phone. They have those apps, it's like where you just enter what's in your pantry that puts together a list of meals you can make.
Yeah, but I feel like the majority of people are too lazy to do that.
And
It'd
that's
be
the
But
kind of
they're
problem.
cool.
not lazy enough to go buy a fridge that's a couple $1,000. You know what? You're right. That actually proves right into the point. You're right.
Uh,
Oh, Sierra, kind of going back to the whole quarantine time.
Mhm.
Like, seeing any good TV shows, music, reading.
So I binge watched um it's called Miss Fisher's Murder Mysteries. That was a TV show that I was watching. It's about a lady detective during the 1920s in Australia, which was really cool. It was a
Rise
really
of
cool
Lights.
idea. Sorry?
hmm.
Oh, I was just doing my awful Australian accent. A
Yes.
little
And
test for
then
anyone if you want to. Oh,
what?
no, 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 go ahead.
um Rick Riordan, I don't know how to say it. Percy Jackson series. He's making a TV show that's going to come out this fall. And so I've been reading the Percy Jackson series lately. So that's kind of what's been keeping me busy
Such a good
besides
series.
it is.
Oh,
I like
The
the,
movies were so bad.
oh yeah, because they're not
They were,
anything like it. That's the issue.
yeah.
I like the, what was it, like the Labyrinth one? Something like that it's called.
Oh yeah.
oh,
It's been so long since I'm only in the first book, but yes, I know what you're talking about.
I remember like one day in one summer and going in sixth grade, I just kind of binge read all of them. I was like obsessed.
Yeah.
If you go ahead and teach you like the mythology of it, to
Oh yeah. And a lot
see,
of it's
see
pretty accurate, which is kind of
hmm
cool.
yeah, I like reading sometimes, but I haven't been able to lately. Just you have to dedicate yourself time, and just
Yeah.
it's like watching a movie for me. It's just time
yeah. I
warp.
find
It's
it.
hard
Wait,
to
hold on, hold
read
on.
during like during school, like read a book that's not like the book for your English class because
hmm
there's so many other things and it's like you barely have 5 minutes to sit down and read a book of your own, let alone
Like
watch a whole movie.
you're a good student yourself, do you feel kind of guilty when you're not doing work? You know, you got it all done. Like, is there?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we all kind of feel that way at the end of the day.
I'm finding it like
That's why.
harder and harder to like watch movies or take.
hmm
I mean, I guess school's done now, but before school is done, to take time off and whatnot because I feel like I should constantly be doing something productive. And sometimes I get into this kind of limbo state where I'm neither doing anything really productive, nor am I, playing a video game or relaxing and having fun. I'm just kind of existing and doing nothing.
If you get on the video games, then you're just while you're playing the video game, you're thinking back in your mind, man, I could be doing something. It just kind of ruins that joy. But summer's here.
Yeah.
Yay.
You guys got any plans
Eric,
for the summer?
I was going to travel, and then COVID happened, so not really.
I'm actually planning on making a cure to COVID this summer, but just a little, don't really feel like
Too
doing
much
that.
work, yeah.
Yeah, I'm kind of burnt out after the school year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I also wanted to go traveling down to California, but COVID. I applied for an internship, but everything's so up in the air, they might just cancel it, or I don't really know. So my summer's like almost completely empty.
Mm. I was originally going to go to South Korea, and then it got canceled. And then I was going to, in place of Korea, I was going to go to France, and then I was going to go to Ireland with Caitlin. But all of that, yeah, it was like my one summer to travel, and
That's not
yeah, it was going to be. So
so
we're
South
still
Korea.
it does, but we're still planning on doing. We're just gonna do it next year if everything clears up.
Senior trip.
Yeah, yeah.
What
Is
would
that
you
a
do in
normal
South
thing to
Korea?
do?
That's like,
My family and well, I used to do Taekwondo, which is a South
oh,
Korean martial arts, and so I would go with my master, and we would go to Seoul. We go to what's called Kukiwon, which is the Taekwondo headquarters. We practice with the World Taekwondo Federation demonstration team, things like that.
so you must be good at like Taekwondo then, right?
Uh, I I was very good at it. I have hip dysplasia, so I had to stop.
Oh,
Um, but yeah, I was actually on the demonstration team as well.
can you explain to me like what I get the gist of what Taekwondo is, but just more specifically what it is kind of.
So Taekwondo is the martial arts. We do a lot of kicking. Some Taekwondo, what's called a dojang. It's the place where you practice. Some dojangs really focus on sparring, but our dojang focused on what's called pumse. It's a very it's almost like Tai Chi. It's a form. You've got different blocks, kicks, hits, and you put it together in a routine. And that's what we focused on. It was a lot of precision, like a lot of it was focused on discipline. So that was the whole thing, like the whole theme of Taekwondo, very much disciplining yourself, disciplining your body, things like that.
It's interesting.
What made you want to
Genius.
It
pursue
was.
Taekwondo?
Um, well, I was in elementary school when I started, and my dad signed me up, and I didn't want to go, like at all. But once I got my first few belts, I kept going. And then I really started loving Taekwondo when I started. I was on the demonstration team, and so was a few of the more, I guess, elite students, those who were really flexible, those that could do special kicks, anything like that. We would go around and we perform. We did 2 Gonzaga halftime shows, 2 of the women's and then 1 of the men's halftime shows. We performed at the fair a lot, we performed at different places, and so each student that was on the demonstration team, we would, do specialized kicks or hits or anything like that, and then we would do more advanced routines like the Pumse. So that was something that I really enjoyed.
That's cool to do. Like, wow,
Yeah.
cool. So if you were to use Taekwondo against someone, could it be deadly?
I think you'd have to be really you'd have to be very advanced if you wanted to make it deadly.
What's the highest like rank?
So there's different levels of black belts. So it's called dons. So your first dan is when you first get your black belt, and there's 6 levels in each dan. I think it goes up to like, I don't know, 40 dans or something like that, and each level takes you 6 months to do.
Wow.
So you could do taekwondo your whole life and not reach the top.
Huh.
Wow. Oh my god, that sounds like a lot of work.
Yeah,
But
it is.
yeah, well, I guess. So if you went over to South Korea and you were there, like, would you partake in it or just watch it more?
I think because I am a little bit competitive, I would definitely partake in a little bit of it, but because of my hip dysplasia, I couldn't do a ton.
Yeah. Then you said you're in Ireland, Kate, or you wanted to go. It's a cool place.
Yeah, Caitlin has family in what's called Ballahadreen,
Bella
and
Hadid.
it's Ballahadreen, yes, or something like that. I probably butchered it. Caitlin's gonna listen to this, and she's gonna be like, "Wow, that was terrible." But yeah. So
And was the French class was on a trip?
yes, we were supposed to go to France. We would start. I think we would start in Paris. I can't remember, the order of it, but we'd go to Paris, what's called Mont Saint Michel, and we were going to possibly go see Monet's house and his garden. Just go to a couple different cities in France. Dr. Blanc obviously knows France pretty well, so
Question is though, does she know Manu?
and
Matthew, you wouldn't get
oh,
that joke. It's a
that's a
very
French class joke.
Uh,
I'm sure all the French students are laughing now. Haha.
Right?
I find it interesting just how
Yeah.
much like history is in France and is in Europe in general versus here
Oh,
in the
yeah.
States. The architecture is so much older than
Do you ever play
anything we have
Assassin's
here.
Creed Unity?
Um, I've never played Unity.
Ooh, it's basically an open world game in France. You can just chill in, but it's cool. It's old Revolution France, but it was interesting because when the Notre Dame burned, they said they were going to use from that game the 3D model in it to help rebuild part of it. So
Huh.
Actually pretty cool. Yeah, I remember watching, it was a live video that Dr. LeBlanc found. It was so sad. Like we were all like sitting there crying because, this beautiful, beautiful church was burning down. It was so sad.
I forgot how it started. Wasn't it just like some construction thing?
Yeah, it was they were doing renovations on that part of the church and something happened and with the construction.
It's awful.
Kind
It
of brings to
is.
mind like how should we preserve things, or should we preserve things in general? Because there's so many other like old buildings that are just like crumbling apart today.
Like Venice.
Like Venice, yeah. I remember like watching a documentary about these. I think it was in Egypt or somewhere in the Middle East. They were uncovering these things, but they were just being eroded by the weather and the rain. They tried to build shelters over them, but still everything gets eroded over time.
I
Uh,
agree with you. I think that there's so many beautiful things, beautiful architecture, beautiful cities that we have here. And there's one thing in progress and, starting anew. And I definitely understand that. But when you have something like Venice, when you have something like Notre Dame, you, it, it's been a part of the world for so long. I mean, like, look at Pompeii. There's
Yeah.
meaning behind everything. All these stones, these architecture, and they might be old. And yes, you could put a golf course right there, and it would make more money. But it's just
Sierra, are you anti golf?
not anti golf. I'm just saying I think nature has the final word though. Like you said, I mean, it's going to
Hmm.
erode, and if that's what happens, I think we should just let that happen. It's going to
Yeah.
take its course. So I don't think we should knock anything down, intentionally because for the sake of progress. Anything like
There's something kind of like
So not
philosophical
heroin.
about it. Like if we were to replace, all of the Colosseum brick by brick with modern bricks and, reinforce it, is it really the Colosseum anymore? Or isn't it just kind of our own, you know, fake
I'd say
version of it?
branded the Coliseum.
branded.
Yeah.
Turn just turn like the Times Square.
Mm,
Like,
I
should we
No,
think
just like let it quote unquote die, or should we actually begin,
well, don't they
reinforcing
have to do
it
that?
with
Don't
modern
they do that?
equipment?
The Leaning Tower of Pisa, like you have to keep adjusting it little by little every time, just so it doesn't crumble. But they still have to keep it leaning.
I don't know.
But if we
I think
adjust it,
there
then
are
what is it really?
Just
places
the
like
Tower of Pisa.
pirate. Wow, that was a fifth grade joke. Oh my gosh. I think there are cities like LA, like, Vegas, like New York, that those are the places where we have progress. Those are the places where we have the flying cars and self-lacing shoes, but places
Hey,
like
we got
Venice,
those right here in Coeur d'Alene. I got them.
places like the Leaning Tower of Pisa, just leave it be, please.
So you're saying we should not preserve the pet shop now as a school?
One day, like 3,000 years from now, it might be a great, like, historical
Here's where
building.
many students suffered. They toiled away.
Oh
If
man.
anyone from Charter's listening, that school has done a lot for me. Thank you very much
Yeah.
so far.
I don't know. Maybe
I
we
think
could
That's
a
do.
lot of the incoming students, as an ASB representative, when we have what's called Panther Prowl. I'm sure you remember it from sixth grade. The
no, I do.
representatives take you around and you talk about charter and everything. And the first time that I did it last year, I only had the exchange students because there's really just not a whole lot of people that come to charter in the last couple of years. What are you laughing?
No, I just thought of something on that. But go ahead.
Oh, okay. I always like to tell the students, like, yes, you're going to hear horror stories about charter. You're going to have some bad days, and it's going to be rough sometimes. But charter has, for me, it has like shaped me into the person that I am today. I don't think I would be the same person if I went to a public school. And that's the cool thing about charter. You work really hard, but that work always pays off. It always pays off in one way or another. And if you decide to go to charter, whether your parents made you or you wanted to do it by yourself, there is going to be something for you here
Mm-hmm.
eventually. At some point, it might be a club, it might actually be the workload. Sometimes people like working a lot. It might be a friend group that you find.
Those people are liars.
But yeah.
I like the feeling of kind of a grinding out work though. Sometimes, like when you're just piling through it, kind of a
It's
good feeling when
almost
you're all done.
satisfying to like say to yourself, like, yes, I had so much homework to do, but I got through all that homework. It's like,
Until you get to
Especially
class
like
next,
it's a
until you
feeling.
get to class next day and you realize you forgot an assignment still.
Yeah, that's the worst.
like having like a nice like planner or calendar and physically making a little check mark near every single item.
Yes.
I don't know.
That's our first sponsor, Plum.
I found I found an intense level of satisfaction from doing that. After a friend recommended it to me, I ended up making using just Google Docs. I made a simple little calendar, and I added every single possible assignment I had on there. Then I began adding extracurricular things, and it was just really nice being able to just wake up and see exactly what I had to do for the day, get it done and dusted, and then just check it off and be free.
Matthew, didn't you
Yeah.
custom order a planner though?
No, well, I did custom order a planner a few years ago, but I didn't this year. No,
Oh,
I mean
Well,
they're
you always see
expensive,
those
but
like people that like make their own like bullet journaling or something, get those really nice pens and
mm,
make their own calendar and stuff like that. And they're those people like personally, I have very little patience for like that. I could not sit there and make my own calendar. But
no,
I guess there is
that's
something kind of satisfying about being very, very organized.
sense of progression and like a sense of doneness and contentedness.
Yes. Yeah.
I kind of think if I'm too organized, then the rest of my life will just probably feel disorganized. I'm too organized now.
That's a good point though. I never thought about that.
Because once you're out of
No.
school, does everything just feel not organized? Because like when summer, I
Yeah,
don't feel like organized at all.
I think it's a lack of structure.
Hmm.
You when you're in school, you have 5 days of school at this time until this time, and then you do homework until this time, and then you do that every day. But when you get to summer, it's like, okay, I get to make my own schedule now. And some people have the self-control and the will to make like a rigid schedule for themselves, but most people don't.
That's why like I try to find a routine and everything. Like, all right, I'll get up, kind of around this time. Might not be super rigid, but all right, I'll go out, work outside for a little bit, and then come in, eat, kind of keep that structure somewhat
Yeah.
regular.
I find myself in the tail end of summer, um, kind of wishing for school or wishing to have an excuse to see my
Hmm.
friends or kind of
Yeah.
wishing for the grind a little bit.
Hmm.
The
Like, and then
beginning of
then once
summer
you're
is
3 months,
just so nice.
then you're 3 months in, and you realize, why did I ever wish for this?
But
Yeah.
then there's that time where it just passes so fast. Now it's already January, and then there's the awkward few months of waiting till June. Oh,
I
in
don't
this
know whether
case,
this
May.
year felt long or really short. It's kind of both ways for me.
For me, this year felt like it just dragged on forever. But I think if I look back on it, it only started like feeling like it was dragging on forever when we went to online. Personally, I
Hmm.
hated online format. Um, but when I was like in school, it felt like it was going by so fast. But
Hmm.
yeah,
That's how I feel. The online format interests me because you think, okay, it's probably gonna be easier just because I can do this, but you don't get that interaction with your teachers that kind of helps you learn stuff, or you hear another student ask a question, you're like, oh yeah, that's a good question. I know that now. You lose out on
Baki
that
kept
environment.
sending us emails like, "Here's the number of people that have asked me for help, 0." And it's not that we don't have questions, it's just it's not the same. Like, when you're in his class and you're like, "Oh, well, I'm looking at this thing right now, he's right there." It's almost like you don't have to put as much effort in and like, when you're asking a question, but it's one thing being in a class, having a teacher right there, having a student next to you. It's like, "Hey, I don't know this question is this." It's so much easier, it's so much more fluent.
Yeah, fluent is
Um,
what it is.
yeah.
Yeah, and like also I just the actual learning itself, I felt like I was doing more busy work than learning.
Yeah.
I felt like I
There
didn't really
were certain
internalize
classes. Yeah.
most of any.
There were certain classes that were just kinda busy work the whole year, but I'm not
Mhm.
gonna tell those.
There was
Yeah. Oh.
the teachers that made for me like instructional like videos, and were kind of already in this tech sphere, I guess you could call it. For me, those stuck more than the teachers like, okay, read this, answer some questions, see you next week, or
Hmm.
just like do this, do that. Um, there was some part of me that actually kind of liked it to a certain extent, mainly for the sleep benefits and being able to do it on my time. That felt
Exactly.
really nice.
It
Would you
was
guys
truly
do?
interesting. Oh, sorry.
No, go ahead.
Um, it was truly interesting to watch. Like, we spend how many hours do we spend at school when we're like in school? I mean, more than like
6.
6-ish, yeah.
right, something like that. And we take what, maybe 2, 3 hours on average for our online schooling? Like,
Hmm.
that's interesting. Like they still got their quota for what they needed to teach. They still got all the information, but it took like half the time.
Exactly.
So that's interesting for me. I know they're not going to do this, but I wonder if they could get, if they had schools do 3 hours a day, could they get all their stuff done, and would that be beneficial for students? It's a question.
Yeah.
Yeah, I noticed myself during this time I was waking up regularly around 10 o'clock, sometimes even noon. But I noticed that I always used to finish homework right around the 3 o'clock mark, right around when school ended. And I just thought if school was still in session, I'd be just arriving home, and I would still have all my homework to look forward to.
Right.
Look forward.
Look forward to,
Look
yeah.
forward to. That's an interesting choice in vocabulary.
Yeah,
I
kind of going back
also
to.
notice. Oh,
No,
sorry.
no, no. Go ahead. Go ahead.
I also noticed that my my sleep schedule, like how awake I am, is kind of determined. Like on the weekends, I find myself like, oh, it's third period, I'm like super awake, and it's like, oh, it's fifth period, I'm like so tired. This class is so boring,
Hmm.
something like that. And I think every student kind of goes through that, so it's weird to think about.
Yeah, it's just different times, I guess. But kind of going back to ASB. So, what kind of led into you running for ASB? What was your um, catalyst for that?
Why did I run for ASB?
Hmm.
Um, well, I was always like, I had many friends on ASB, so I was always a person that, sometimes I would help set up for dances, sometimes I would help take down. Most of the time I actually helped take down. But I saw the reps come around to Stair Labs. I saw them, working on posters during Stair Lab and things like that. And I saw that, and I said to myself, like, look, this is something that could be really beneficial for you in the long run. Like colleges really like seeing that on a resume. Jobs like seeing that on a resume. But also I could definitely like I saw myself in that position. I knew that I would enjoy doing whatever work that I would do. Obviously, I didn't know what I would do, but when I was a junior rep, we had different committees for dances and things like that. That's a big part of ASB. Not all of it, but dances are
Hmm.
pretty big. But I was always on decorations committee. That's just how I work. I really enjoy doing that. And so yeah, I just knew that I would really enjoy doing it, and I couldn't wait to be on ASB, and so I just ran again.
There, like, you're talking about dances, or is there anything you plan on doing this year with the dances, like to improve it?
I think ASB has a pretty good budget. And
Hmm.
sometimes we don't use that budget to its full capacity. Not that we want to spend all our money, but like we can get more than dollar store table costs. So
Yeah.
for decorations, I think we can do a little bit better. The archway was pretty cool.
Yep.
Even not trying to sound like not trying to brag or anything, but I thought that was pretty
No.
cool. And it didn't take a whole lot of time. It didn't take a whole lot of resources, and
There's that
things
white
like
one with
that.
like the kind of green in it.
Yeah. I Matthew Mankey, he and I built the skeleton for it, and I live in the middle of the woods, so I just cut down tree branches, and that's
Wow.
what. Yeah, it was just a bunch of 2x4s and some screws, and we just made the whole thing out of like live tree branches.
It turned out well.
It did, and that's the thing. Like we can still do that, and the cool thing about the archway is because it's made out of 2x4s, we can just unscrew the tree branches and we can use that for other things. So we're going to try, and you're never going to, like we learn in ASB, you're never going to please everybody with the music. There's always going to be somebody saying, I love the music or I hated the music, it sucked. So we're
That's the
trying to
same song.
experiment with DJs.
What you should do get everyone to pick one song together. He just looped that the whole entire night. Then we have
That
a
would
unanimous
be
opinion that
a
that song's
nightmare.
bad.
Oh
Oh
goodness.
my gosh.
Remember the times we had.
Oh boy.
No, yeah, the one dance I went to this year it looked really well done. So that was nice to see compared to when I was part of the 7th grade middle school dance committee and how shoddy our job was and stuff. But different times, and also high school is more important than a middle school dance. So
Yes.
Mm.
Sorry, middle schoolers, but it's the truth.
to all the middle schoolers that are our target demographic, thank you for
Thank you for listening.
tuning in. Yeah, like one time some girl asked me to come to school and she's like, "Oh, I like your guys' podcast." So I was just surprised. Like someone beside Matthew and myself listens.
You're right.
It's kind of nice.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
yeah, next year's senior year, so it'll be an interesting year to kind of go. It's been, what has it been, 6, 7 years at Charter now?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Almost the
Crazy.
thought of my life at this
Yeah.
establishment.
Oh my god.
I think for senior year, obviously we have the SATs, we have senior project, we have this are like there's can be so much stress. People can put so much stress into senior year. But it's our senior year, and I stressed this in my speech for rep. Like we need to, we have worked so hard at Charter. It has been a long run. I'm not going to say it's been easy, but we have had a
Yeah.
lot of fun. Um, it's our last year to be a high schooler, and our senior year
He failed.
we can oh no, we're just gonna like not talk about our senior year needs to be we need to have fun. We've put in the work. We've done 5 years of work, and this year I think we should have a little fun.
You hear Sierra Cree promised no homework rest of the year.
Yeah. Maybe not.
Won't be the worst, but yeah, I think I'm only taking 3 classes next year, so
I
chill.
think I technically
At
only need to
Charter.
take 2 in order to graduate, but it feels wrong to do so.
Matthew, it's your last
Yeah.
year.
And while I could make it easier on myself, I'm ending up taking all AP courses just because
Oh my gosh.
So you
why
can brag.
not at this point?
So you can
Gotta
brag
pump
when
up
you're
those GPA numbers, get in those test
the
scores, send
BV.
them up to colleges to get a slip of paper that tells
So
me I'm
you can
qualified.
become the V, big V,
Oh.
valedictorian.
I don't know who's actually does our school even
You're in the
publish
right.
like statistics for who's like the quote unquote top student? Because I know
It's
some
not like
schools
an
have like a
NFL. It's not
school
like the
ranking
NFL
system.
power ranking. It's not like the NFL power rankings of the top quarterback.
I mean, we have like the honor roll, but I feel like that's
Yeah, I
it.
think who got honor roll? Who got I won't name names, but yeah, never mind. But
But there's something kind of like I think I don't know exactly how it's determined. But if it's just based on raw GPA, there's something kind of messed up because you could take like 1, 2 AP courses and that's it.
Mhm.
And if you get both A's in those, because you can spend way more time, then you have a 5.0 that year. Versus there's a student who's
Right.
taking all 6 classes, all AP, and they get, all A minuses or something, all B's. And they still do well, but not 5.0 well.
Right. Right.
So I wonder if they take into account
maybe
how
it's
many
holistic.
credits.
Maybe
So
they do it holistically a little more to like community service. Maybe I don't know.
mm.
Colleges look at that at least, and that's what matters more.
Yeah.
Do you have any? Are you going to go to college here?
Yeah. I'm going to. So we've been doing dual credit.
Oh yeah.
I I just decided to do dual credit as opposed to AP. But I have actually knocked out a lot of the credits needed for associate's degree. So I'm going to finish my associate's degree at MIC. and then I'll go down to Boise State to do the nursing program.
Wow.
Yep.
BSU, you're saying?
Yeah. Yep.
It's good.
It is. It is. I went for a tour around the campus. I really like it. I actually have a lot of family that lives down there anyways. And it's nice because since I'll be doing my associate's degree at NSC, I'll be a transfer student. I don't have to stay in the dorms, which will save so much money.
Yes. Yeah, plus Boise's a pretty cool town.
It is. It's a clean city, which I like.
Where
Yeah,
do
it's
you
cool.
where do you want to walk? Like after you graduate, where do you want to get your first job and then live?
Like working through college.
Let's say after you graduate and get your full degree, where do you want your
Oh,
first like real job to be in
I
Idaho?
would yes. So I would like to come back to Coeur d'Alene. That's kind of where I want to stay. But there's the Shriners Hospital in Spokane.
Oh,
Um,
yeah.
I am a Shriners kid myself, which is pretty cool. But I have really been wanting to work at Shriners for a long time. They do actually have a pretty good nursing like population over there. Um, and I want to work with kids. That's something I want to do. But if I don't go to Shriners, because it's pretty hard to get a job there, they're pretty picky. I would always just work at maybe Sacred Heart or even Kidney, something like that. Just a hospital. I don't know. I'm not super picky about it.
Is there a certain just general nurse you want to be, or just is there like a certain type of doctor?
um, I would like to do it's RN, a registered nurse.
Mhm.
Um, and something like that. And then I would like to work in pediatrics. So I wouldn't be the doctor, like an MD or something like that, but you know,
Yeah,
get a little bit
working kids is
higher than something else like a CNA.
convenient. Working with kids is a good thing to do.
Yeah, I've always really wanted to work with kids. Like ever since I was little, I've always wanted to work
Since you
with
were a
kids.
kid.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, well, it's good to give back to people and stuff, rather than just
Yeah.
becoming some shady corporate CEO that takes advantage of people. But
Yeah.
I
Not
think
my
Matthew wants to
style.
be. You
Oh,
know what?
so
That's
many
not mine.
pointing fingers.
No, I don't know what Matthew actually wants to be. I know computers don't much more than that. What is it, Matt?
Oh, what I want to get into? Um, yeah, I want to get into well, yeah, probably computers, but specifically like AI, machine learning. I'll become a machine learning engineer because it pays pretty nicely, and because I just find both the mathematics and implementation, even just like the raw philosophy of machine learning and how it actually functions, fascinating. And I'm doing my senior project actually on this, or something closely related to this topic, and in doing so, it really elucidates just how prevalent the technology is and how many amazing things it can do in so many different sectors, including medical sectors, like how it can speed up drug production way, way, way rapidly. We used to take maybe a few years to get approved by the FDA. Can happen now in a couple months.
Right.
So it's just really amazing.
The cool thing about using AI, I actually went to the nursing facility at BSU, and they have like automated kind of dummies that you can practice on. They secrete liquid. They can uh, like create. They can have seizures. They can have heart attacks. They can. There's one that actually simulates birth. So they're using AI in the medical field for training, which is pretty.
Yeah, I saw. I was doing some reading, and apparently, one source I didn't really expect artificial intelligence to be in is in some hospitals they're experimenting with having patients who have like children with emotional disturbances or have like schizophrenia or paranoia allowing them to design their own virtual avatar of sorts, almost like a counselor, and be able to talk with them, and kind of the robot's able to kind of gauge their feelings and gauge even like suicidal tendency.
Yeah,
Um,
but if you if someone has schizophrenia, and
yeah.
they say, "Oh yeah, I was talking to that robot over there,"
Yeah.
you don't see the robot.
Apparently, it lowered the amount of hallucinations and like vocal threats they receive, which I thought was kind of interesting because I've never heard anything about using AI like that.
For a certain,
Um, it's all that is kind of a bit um novel, a bit new, pretty uncharted waters, I would say.
uncharted. That's a
Ah,
joke. I mean, some people will understand.
That's a joke. Oh man.
Yeah, I had to specify that to you guys. It's like a little applause button you can read.
Yeah.
Well, we're hitting about an hour right now. If you want to wrap things up, Matt,
Yeah.
or I can, if you want, Sierra.
But
Do you
it's up to
have any
you.
like socials that you want people to follow, or do you want
Um,
to get your name out there somehow?
sure, why
Because
not?
our platform of 14 subscribers will help you out.
oh yeah.
Yeah, I can get just subscribers. Um, I just have an Instagram, so
Okay,
um,
so yeah, if you want to follow Sierra there, go and
yeah.
Sierra Cree. Don't know much more than that.
That's
Awesome.
about it.
Thank you for joining us for the first guest of the Jam podcast. I mean,
Yeah.
I
think it went
had
well.
so much fun. You guys are you bring up a lot of really cool topics that I wouldn't normally bring up with my friends.
Okay.
Not because they wouldn't, bring it up, but you guys are just
So
such
they're
like
stupid. You hear that? You hear that? guys?
no, such cool people. You guys are really smart. I enjoy talking with you guys. If you guys are listening on the podcast and you want to be a guest, please do. It's really fun.
Hear that?
So
She encourages you guys to guess. So
yes,
so
I endorse this message.
if the governor wants to be on our podcast, Sierra Cree has our endorsement.
Well, it's been lovely
Yeah,
having
so
you, Sierra.
Thank you so much.
yes, you're welcome. All right, thank you very much.
Yeah, bye bye.
All right, see ya.